Thank you for joining me today, dear friends. We're going to have a quick look at Microsoft certifications. I want to talk a little bit about Azure Administrator Associate certifications because I get asked quite a lot, where to start with Azure. And if you want to get certified, that would probably be one of the best and not so difficult options to go with. And if you navigate to the Microsoft site, right, Microsoft certification area, you see it requires only one exam, and it's AZ-104 page, right? And for now, I want to focus on a specific area, right? You see here there are different areas in Azure that I expected for you to, to be familiar with. And for today, I prepared some materials for monitoring and maintenance of Azure resources. That's one of the things that a normal administrator would do on-prem and also in the cloud. So let's get to it. If we look at monitoring and maintenance of Azure resources, there is some general things that everyone should be aware of. So when you work with Azure, most likely you will work with Azure virtual machines as one of the core components. So you should know how to back up a virtual machine, how to restore it, how to do some monitoring operations on it. For example, when it boots and the boot failure happens, there should be a specific alert sent out. So that would be something as one of the basics. Then there is Azure Web App. You would probably work with some applications in Azure that also need to be monitoring. Um, Applications are easier to maintain because it's mainly like PaaS service. It means it's managed by Azure, but still some alerts and some configurations are there, so you should consider this also. And of course, last but not least, the database layer. Most likely you will work with Azure SQL or some other databases which have been migrated to the cloud or just some new instances are built there. So some basic operations with databases you should also be familiar with. So for example, how to configure database alerts, some security settings maybe, or for apps, it would be something like to do with app monitoring. With Azure VMs, it would be recovery. And of course, if we look at actual services which are checked and measured in this exam, uh, a lot would be to do with Azure Monitor. So that's something to definitely have a look at, how it works, what functions are there. You can do some tutorials there. There are some login capabilities, how to read the logs, how to analyze them, how to export logs to specific areas, like to log analytic workspace or etc. And of course, you would work with alerts. So to automate things a little bit, you would set up and configure specific alerts in your environment. And yeah, it's definitely worth checking the Azure backup and recovery services vault. These are the things that every admin should know. And please check out the Azure Site Recovery. So this is the small mind map that helps you at least to see the strategic directions where to prepare in this journey, right, to get certified. And if we look in general at Azure Monitor, I'll show you a little bit. So you see here there are a lot of options like application insights. So it makes sense to get familiar what application insight is, and VM insights, right? Network insights. So just to get some general understanding what it's all about, what kind of metrics are available, and what log logs are there, how to read those logs, how to analyze them. So things like that. This would be probably a central point to start with. So if you go to monitor, you would have these options here, and in tutorials, right? There are already some prepared tutorials from Microsoft, so you could use this, and of course, it will help you to get to know it much better. There are some things with best practices, so if you have time, this would be the best option to start with. And of course, for that, you would need Azure subscription to try or some kind of a sandbox. So that's one thing. And also I prepared a comprehensive checklist that you can use. For now, this is just a checklist for this specific workload for monitoring and maintenance. So it has some things where you should read up on with some useful links. Of course, some of these links might be outdated. They're current at the moment, but by the time you watch this video, they might be out of date. So, but here you get some things, some ideas, what to check, how to configure different things, like for example, alert rules, how to log query, and how to check the boot diagnostic settings in Azure Monitor, what's the Azure Site Recovery, the backup, what's the recovery services bolt, and some basic operations, how to restore Azure VM. So if you go through these links, through this checklist, you would be most likely prepared for this specific part of the exam. Of course, there are some additional ones. This is just one of them, but at least it will give you an idea where to start and how to prepare for this one. At least you know what to do and how to do it. Of course, you could utilize a lot of free and paid resources. You can check this out in some of my previous videos. This link will be in the video description, so enjoy, and yeah, have a wonderful day. Stay healthy. Bye bye.